Hey, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Chris. We're the hosts of True Believers, a comic book podcast, our weekly show about all things comics.
Welcome to episode 16 of True Believers. Chris and I will be reviewing the United States of Captain America. It's a 5-issue limited series that celebrates 80 years of Captain America.
Okay. Everybody knows that Captain America was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby in 1941 and was one of the most popular superheroes during World War II before the popularity of superheroes drastically dropped post-war. Steve disappears, presumed dead after the war and fighting communism, comes back in the 60s, rises back into the upper echelon of popularity recognition. We got the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Are we caught up?
Yeah, I think that's about it. So what happened prior to this one? Because I don't really know. Like, how did we get here?
It doesn't matter.
Because I really don't know. I started reading it and I was just kind of like, okay, just vibes. Vibes.
Listen, we're post Siege, we're post Civil War, we're post Dark Reign, we're post House of M, we're post everything. We're in the modern day. We are post Sam Wilson as Captain America. We're post Nazi Cap. We're post John Walker. We're post it all. We're post East Coast Avengers. We're post West Coast Avengers. We're post it all.
Steve is still just going. This man. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to say something really quick before we talk about this. Steve's body was so big in this. Like, so it was like comical how big he was. I was like, well, who?
Okay,
that's a lot of
weeks
steroids.
After you talk about how Colossus is so big and hot.
I'm
just saying.
Those are not even comparable. Because did you see his shoulders and like his titties were so big? I was like, who did this?
Call them his titties.
They were huge. So that was like first page. I was like, why is his body so big? But other than that, how did you feel about this one? I know you loved it, so I'm gonna let you talk about it first.
No, I really, really liked it. I really liked United States of Captain America from the first issue. It reminds me of another series that I really like. Two other ones. Batman Incorporated, obviously, where you see that Batman has agents all over the world who, fight the good fight. And We Are Robin, which is focused in Gotham City, which I know I've said before is a pit, and I'm not interested in anything going on there. But We Are Robin was about people taking back their city. You know what I'm saying? They used the symbol that was popular, the Robin symbol. They all had their own costumes. They had their own unique identity as Robins. They adhered to a code, and they were all improving the city in their own way.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing with the United States of Captain America. It really brought forth a lot of questions like, what does America mean to you? What does it mean to be American? What does it mean to stand together and fight up against a common threat? Patriotism?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be Captain America?
See, that's actually one of the things that I didn't quite like about this story is because, like, obviously the message is important and it's like a good message to be sending to people, but they did so much of it. I thought it was like almost too much patriotism.
I actually thought the opposite. I would say that they didn't give what could have been gave. Knowing this was a 5-issue limited series, I got really excited because I love a good limited series, TV, comics, anything.
So much easier to read 5 issues opposed to 77. So yeah,
not even just like ease of access. I mean, like, I feel like that's how you know that you are a master storyteller. You don't need anything extra. You don't need no pizza. Mm-hmm. We got food here. And with this, I feel like they started off really good with Steve they're on this road trip, so that's classic, like road trip Americana. We're taking in the sights. We are moving with a purpose. And Steve and Sam.
No, it starts off with Steve is in his apartment and some really fast man comes in and beats his ass, steals his shield and leaves. And then they're like, what just happened?
So Steve and Sam literally have to get on their motorcycles, which I thought was cool. Sam was back in his Captain America uniform, which I was like, happy to see you, my brother. Happy to see you. He was like, I thought, since they stole the shield, this should be 2 Captain Americas. I was like, period.
See, it was just so much symbolism in this. I was like, okay, can we tone it down a little bit? Just a little bit.
I thought that was so cool. It's really about after issue number 3 where they fall off for me, because they had so much to say about what it means to be Captain America, what it means to stand up for other people who need, what it means really to be a hero, I think. And they started off really good. In the first issue, they introduced Aaron Fisher, the Captain America of the railways. Yeah. And this was the one, before they announced exactly what the series was, Newsarama, which is a messy ass bitch of of a news site. They're like, oh, this is the new Captain America. He's LGBT and he's homeless. And they show Aaron Fisher with his cute little overalls. And then all of the middle-aged men who hate everything. They were like, not my Captain America. This sucks. And I was like, well, what is it? And then like maybe 2 months later, they were like, oh, United States of Captain America. And I was like, oh. So they didn't even know what it was to get really mad about.
It wasn't a super serum Captain America. But I will say that normally I'm not a fan of when they introduce new characters just because you never know which way it's going to go, right? Like it could easily go south, and often it does. But this time I loved every new character that they introduced, every single one.
All the captains?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Every single character they introduced definitely had a place in this story, which is really hard to do sometimes, apparently.
Especially because they don't even really have anything aside from being the captains and being targeted as symbols of like, not just of patriotism, but of heroism. Because they themselves are being targeted. They're part of the main story, but you don't really see how they fit into the larger story until they all have their little mini issue at the back. Yeah. So that's where you get to really see them and how they become Captain America and how they model that through their everyday actions, which is really cool.
I liked that they did that too, because they just kind of introduced them like at the start of the comic or whatever of that issue.
Because Steve is like, I got my ass beat by a guy dressed like Captain America. They find Aaron Fisher. They like, you going to jail tonight. Give me the shield. And he was like,
oh, see, okay, I'm going to just talk about the things I don't like, apparently, because, but I didn't like that Aaron also, like, how was he boomeranging his little wooden shield like he's Captain America? You saw that?
Was it even made of wood?
I don't know, because they called him Woody something. I don't remember it right now, but
I was like, what are you doing? I was enjoying the fit. You know, I live for an overall fit.
Did you see his tattoos too? Like all of his tattoos, like he has a that's red, white, and blue on his shoulder, and he has like a American flag on the other shoulder. Like his tattoos were so overdone, but I actually like this one, how overdone they were.
I was like, I know Captain Dark Phoenix is not
I loved
everybody else's tattoos.
No, his tattoos are great. I think
I love them so much.
Drew all of these different captains was kind of incredible. I'm not gonna lie.
I really like that they all have a unique, not just like just as a different outfit, but something that is true to who they are. Captain America uniform, a way for them to say like, I am Captain America, and to model that was really cool. And then to see somebody from I don't want to say an unthought about population, because Aaron Fisher is unhoused or like homeless, so somebody that people we usually don't think about.
He's underrepresented a lot. His community is.
Yeah. And especially because of how many LGBTQ youth
are homeless. Especially because Aaron Fisher was homeless because his parents kicked him out for being gay. And like that is a huge thing that's actually happening that is not talked about enough.
And it brought attention to the way that people look down on people for being homeless, or how people think of homeless people as like a societal ill instead of people who are needing like help.
And if you read Aaron Fisher's little backstory at the end, which again is a really good thing that they did, they put backstories at the end of every issue for the character they're introducing. But if
they're like, this is Captain America.
Exactly. And this is why they're Captain America. But Aaron Fisher's like, it brings a lot of like different situations that could lead to homelessness. It's not just as black and white as people try to make it be. So I did like that they did that with him very much.
And what they did in the United States of Captain America, they were giving anyone can be a hero, and I was like, anyone can. And then at the end
I think that's also Aaron Fisher, overdone trope. Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I like it in this case. It is very overdone, but in this case, it does make sense because they were like, when they're all becoming the target, it makes sense that they would make it this obvious. I was like, okay, because Aaron tells them, he's like, oh yeah, I'm not even the only Captain America out here. There's a whole network of us. And they're like, what? Because I know Steve was thinking about his copyright. He was like, ciao.
Oh, it also starts off with like the Smithsonian wants Captain America's shield for like, I don't know, historical
First of all, and y'all
purposes.
not getting my vibranium shield.
That's what I'm saying. Why would you ask? How could you come to me and ask for my only weapon right now, or like at least my favorite? He has other shields. Y'all didn't
even ask me for the ghetto ass one that Iron Man made me. That's like a hologram.
Actually, I thought that one was kind of dope. I'm not gonna lie, but it's like you can't throw that one. Why did you give him that, Tony? You could have just made him another shield. Like, you know what I mean?
With what vibranium? Because how you gonna get that?
If he can, he has all his nanite Nanite. What is it
Nanites?
called? Nanite?
Nanotechnology?
Yeah, he has all this fucking crazy advanced technology. You couldn't have made him a shield that he can throw.
No, see, that makes sense because
No.
because you said make another shield, I was like, what Vibranium? Where he gonna get what shoes he got on? What shoes
Tony
he got on
Stark,
his
the
cast?
ultimate billionaire in Marvel Comics. Like you couldn't have found something.
He is not.
You know,
first of all, the ultimate billionaire in Marvel Comics
is Namor.
It's T'Challa.
It's Namor.
Actually,
I think he's the richest one. Not that
right
even
behind
matters.
him, who's
T'Challa.
running up right behind him? It's T'Challa.
And then
First
it's like Tony, I think. You're still top 3 of the richest people in all of the Marvel universe.
Because I thought he was behind like Doctor Doom and like a bunch of
Oh, yeah,
other
Doctor
people.
Doom too. I don't know. Don't
anybody
quote me
who
on
runs
that
the country.
He's super rich. That's all that matters.
First of all, he's unethically rich.
I almost want to look that up. I'm gonna write that down. We'll put that in the notes because I want to know.
Anyway, so we get to issue number 2, and our Captain America is Nichelle Wright, the Captain America of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Nichelle Wright, her costume is amazing. She's like a gymnast, an ex-former gymnast because she becomes Captain America, and her costume is so good.
And she's a social activist.
And she's a social activist, but her costume, like she has like she's wearing like a leotard kind of with just one leg.
If any of you have ever seen FloJo, it's giving FloJo. She got the one leg out. She's got the combat boots.
And she got purple in her hair. I was like,
listen, it's giving Bucky Barnes and FloJo. Like that's what it gave.
Half a mask that only covered her eyes, but her hair was still out. Like that was the look. And she wore a hood
too, and the hood has the little wings on it. This is what we mean when we say every Captain America uniform is unique to who they are, because Nichelle it screamed gymnast. I'm really upset
that
nobody recognized it was her before she got unmasked by the fake Captain America when they blew up that pipe. Like, I just don't understand how nobody thought it was her.
Okay. And it should be said that like what's happening right now is like some unknown villains are just trying to destroy Captain America's reputation. They
want people to stop believing in like the spirit of America or whatever.
And they also just straight up want to kill this net worth of Captain's America. Captain's America, not Captain America's.
The Captain's Network. They want to destroy the Captain's Network. So they're seeking them out. And Nichelle is in jail.
Because they framed her. They
destroyed some pipe, which to be fair,
should have been destroyed.
It's not fair. Yes.
They were poisoning the water supply, so Nichelle was already against this pipe.
Yeah, I was about to say, it doesn't make sense because I would have looked at her even if she hadn't showed up dressed like Captain America. I would have been like, I know who did
it. So, understandable why they would frame her this way.
All of the police in town, they're racist. So they've been trying to lock Nichelle up all this time.
Sam throws the fucking captain through a window. Because what did he say? He made some comment like, "Oh, well, she's just a black girl." It
doesn't matter if she's guilty or not. He was very much giving. She needs to learn her place, and I was like, okay. Was it Sam that threw him out? Because I thought
it was Sam. Because he made some comment like he made some. What is the word whenever like a white person he made a microaggressive comment, and then Sam stood up and was like, "Did you?" And then he goes, "Yeah, you know exactly what I mean." So Sam just throws him against a window.
As he should,
respect.
As he should.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
He did that for the culture.
But Nichelle really did it. Nichelle was such a good character to add to this. So was Aaron Fisher. But Nichelle really, it was a costume for me. I think that makes her a little bit more lovely.
The best part about this issue is once they've fought off the fake Captain America and this random bitch who's with him, they're like, Sam and Steve were like, "Do you want to come with us?" And Nichelle is like, "No, I have to stay for my community." And I was like, period. But she's on the run because everybody knows who she is.
And then you read her little background story.
And her background story wasn't even a backstory. It was like a current story. Like what's happening now. She goes in to stop, it wasn't even like a robbery. It was like two drunk idiots acted up.
It was 2 rich white men who were happy that she was gone because it was the commissioner's son. That's who it was. Remember the one that just got through the window? It was just him acting up just because Nichelle was gone. So who's going to stop you now? But
so she ran in there and tacked that tail real quick and then disappeared into the night. The best part about this is that you find out exactly how many people in Harrisburg support Nichelle, how many people she's got behind her in her corner. That was so good too, because not
I almost teared up a little bit.
It loves you back.
I know, because she's sitting there and there's like, I assume it's like an underground YouTube type of thing of people just like talking about how much they love Nichelle, and Nichelle's crying. I was like, I'm crying. That was so good. It's
And the
fine.
fact that she was a college gymnast. So this is somebody who's given, like, she's put a lot of money and time. Gymnastics is not a cheap sport. So she's put money and time into this sport. And this is probably what was going to carry her through school, maybe even to the Olympics. And because of how much her community means to her, that's like something that she's given up on to focus on activism. That is so cool.
I know. And it's also a physically taxing sport. So like just imagine how good this bitch is in shape.
When I tell you Nichelle could crack walnuts with these legs, like, first of all, she's giving Dick Grayson a run for that money.
But also, okay, so we see at the end of the first one that some girl tries to shoot Aaron, like just some sniper, whatever, she gets away. But you see in this issue, like you actually see her costume and like, okay, so spoiler, it's Sin, like Red Skull's daughter, but her costume also was really good.
Oh,
I hate to say this because I don't want
her little American mask or whatever. Yeah. She's got like this. If you've ever seen the Texas flag, it kind of looks like that.
I don't want to root for Nazis ever, but the costume was actually nice, you know?
You sound like me when I was reading Multiversity, and I like, okay, if you read it digitally, I'd never finished it. So I was like, oh, man, I might as well finish it now. And so if you read it digitally, like it shows you like the picture first and, it just focuses on different stuff. Mm-hmm. And there was this, in one universe, there was this like kind of Nordic looking Justice League. And I was like, oh, they're Wonder Woman. She's so pretty. She's like a Viking. That's cool. And then I was like, oh, Superman got the drip, whatever. So I get all the way up to, I believe it's their Green Lantern. And I noticed something. Do you know what it is?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
A double lightning bolt.
No.
So then I was like, what? So I zoom out and they're fucking Nazis. Oh my God.
No.
I've never been more troubled in my life than that moment.
Yeah, I can see that. So you were low-key rooting for Nazis the whole time?
I wasn't rooting for them. It's like, no, before they even get into the story, they show you the Justice League of that world or who the heroes are. And I was like, oh, they all look like, because they were really nice design. But then when I looked back at Superman, I was like, oh my God, because you can see it once you once you see the big picture. And I would not have noticed until I flipped the page if I hadn't seen that double lightning bolt on I think it was the Green Lantern. And I was like,
yeah. Side note to that, though, we should just stop trying to make Nazis happen. Nazis and white supremacy are just not a thing that we need ever. They're one of the lowest forms of humanity. So why do we keep trying to make that happen in comic books? We've already had Nazi Cap. We had Nazi Superman at one point, didn't we? Like, we don't need this, y'all.
No, I thought he was just a communist. He's been a Nazi. Well, actually, I just literally said Nazi Superman. So, yeah.
Yeah, we just need to stop trying to make Nazis happen. There's a reason they lost the war.
Is really good. It almost has nothing to do with the Nazis. Like, they all get blown up, and like Nazi Superman is just sitting there like, damn. He also let everybody get blown up. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was also one of my problems with this story. I was like, I know that he's very anti-Nazi, Captain America is, but can we stop? Just even if you're bringing Nazis even as the villain, you're still incorporating them in the story and giving them a limelight that they shouldn't have. Here's the thing.
There are so many other problems with America than Nazis.
So stop focusing on Nazis.
Like, I get that this is Captain America. I get that it's been 80 years of Captain America. And I get that Captain America was created to fight the Nazis. But, like, damn. Who are the real problems in America?
And let's
pick those people and just start making fun of them.
Right. And, also spoiler, towards the end, Hitler even gets involved in this story. And it's like,
that's where we lose the plot, because
we stop trying to make it happen.
Steve was saying at the beginning of the first 3 issues about like literally what America means to him. He was and like how freedom isn't free also, and how the promise of America never lives up to the reality. That was all such good stuff, especially when you intercut it with all the stories of the different captains, and then the main storyline involving the different captains, and then their personal stories at the end. It all was such good stuff, and we're going such a different place, such a good place, until I won't even say issue number 3 is actually issue number 4, where we kind of lose where we were going, because issue 3 was so good.
Issue 3 was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Our Captain America is Joe Gomez, the Captain America of the Kickapoo tribe. And also his Kickapoo name it means thunder that jumps across the sky. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard. That is cool as
shit. But no, what happens? So also this line was one of my favorite lines in the whole thing. It was whenever Sam was making fun of Steve for making actual paper notes with paper and pen. He's like, you can use your cell phone for that, right? And he goes, Steve's like, no, I use my phone to call people. It's like, you can see how old this man really is.
It's funny that you would say that, because Joe Gomez is like 43.
Oh, no, Sam said that to Steve at the beginning.
No, I know he said to Steve, but like, the fact that like Sam and Joe, they're like the same age. First of all, Sam, you're old too. I bet you if I asked you to Snapchat me something, that's what I'm saying. Like, so
No, I think
everybody
if
in this
somebody can
issue
Snapchat it, is
was
Sam.
old.
Sam,
You know what? You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's not Sam.
I bet you Sam in the Marvel 616. I bet you he is one of the most followed Avengers on social media because he looks like he's the only one who has a good social media presence.
Yeah, I totally would believe that. Sam is, a likable person. But so what even happened in this one? Oh, I mean, at the end, Bucky joins the story, which is pretty cool. Bucky's always a good addition to the Captain America team.
Yeah, so what's happening in the main story? So Joe is the Kickapoo Captain America. They meet him on the reservation, and he is a normal, cool guy. He's honestly like personality-wise, like my favorite of the captains.
Yeah, and his costume
no, actually, Ariel is my favorite just because of her side story. She ate that.
She did,
but she
really did. Yeah, her side story was great. Ariel's the next one.
But so Joe, there's a local politician who's running for office. The agents of darkness are attempting to sabotage, and they want to attack Joe because they know he's involved in the community. Like, everybody knows who Joe is. It's not like a secret. He wears a mask, but it's just for the look.
So each of these Captain Americas kind of have like a different part of society that they're trying to help, and the first two are pretty much about fighting crime. Joe's biggest thing is just he wants to help people, like fixing their pipes, help their plumbing. He's just trying to be a handyman for the community.
He's just a good man.
Yeah, he's just a good person. I mean, obviously he fights crime too, but like his biggest thing is he's just trying to help community by physically fixing their problems. I was like, respect, Joe. That's badass.
And then like with the United States of Captain America, they really hammer in that like any person doing everyday acts, like that's heroism too. I was like, exactly, like that's where we should have been going. Unfortunately, next issue we kind of lose it with Nazis. But so they go to they attempt to assassinate this politician. Joe ends up getting hurt, but you can't take him down. You
can't kill a bad bitch.
And can't. Because Joe is like, I'm still in this thing.
First of all, he gets like stabbed or sliced up open on the chest or something crazy, and he's still fighting. You're not going to bring Joe down. Not my Kickapoo Captain America.
And won't.
It's not going to happen.
And then they were like, is there anything historically significant in the area? And it was like one of the elementary schools that got desegregated first or something. And I was like,
it was a really big one. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a huge thing.
Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. So it was at Monroe Elementary School where they integrated because of Brown versus Board of Education. And the first person to show up, obviously, is fake ass Captain America, who we realize now is Speed Demon. I was like, damn, not Speed Demon.
Nobody cares about Speed Demon any time of the day. Honestly.
The only Speed Demon people care about is the Michael Jackson song, because I was like, who the fuck is Speed Demon? And then I was like, oh, that guy.
Oh, that guy.
It's like he wouldn't normally act like that, but I was like,
he was hypnotized or something like that. Mind control. I don't remember.
Yep. So when they go to this, they meet up with this. No, Prescott is running for governor of Kansas, and Joe is like, we got to protect Prescott. He's going to be there. He's going to be at his little, this was a distraction, blah, 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 blah. So Speed Demon goes to attack Prescott with the shield, and who pops up but Bucky motherfucking Barnes? He's like, boom. Yeah.
And like I said, he's always a good addition to the fucking Captain America team. Bucky should always be there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Bucky was Captain America, even though I personally, like, how racist people were being when they announced the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or like when Steve gave Sam the shield at the end of
Endgame?
Yeah. And people were all mad. They were like, it should have gone to Bucky. I was like, have y'all not seen what Bucky does when he's Captain America?
Listen, this is a thing that I also have problems with. We just need to stop letting Bucky have the shield, first of all.
Listen, I like Bucky. Don't get me wrong. Always have. But that boy is bad news. He's a menace to society. Like, Bucky used to shoot people in the legs as Captain America.
I mean, some people deserve it. When you're shooting Nazis, personally, I think the legs is like the last thing you should be going for. But
if you're shooting Nazis, you aim for the skull.
Exactly.
The red skull.
Ooh. But Bucky spent his entire life like trying to separate himself from, his whole Nazism that he got stuck under. But
Well,
and he actually
it was
does
communism.
It's kind of the same thing at this point. He spent his whole life like reclaiming his own identity as the Winter Soldier, basically. And so stop trying to like take that away from him. He's not supposed to be Captain America. He's the Winter Soldier. He spent his whole life reclaiming the Winter Soldier for himself. Let him do what he's been trying to do,
Period.
So stop trying to let that happen.
Is this like the one thing we actually agree on?
Maybe. Because I hate that. I hate it so much. Let this man.
And then I don't understand why, like, especially with MCU Bucky, I don't understand why they would want him to be Captain America, because I'd be like, this man's brain was Swiss cheese 2 years ago. Can you please just let him acclimate? Like, he could throw the shield a couple times if he really wants to. Like, him and Sam did it in the show.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said it like that. Him and Sam did it in the show. They didn't do it in the show, so I don't want people to hear
thought they were going to, but they didn't.
It kind of looked like they were about to.
There was a lot of homoeroticism going on there. But,
boy, you know exactly what you did on the boat.
Besides all those points,
I'm sorry,
we just need to let Bucky be the Winter Soldier. Like, stop trying to make him happen. He's not necessarily a hero at all times,
No, he is. And actually, I feel like
it's questionable.
I feel like it's not questionable if Red Hood can just go right to heroism and be like, yep, I'm just part of the regular bad family. I don't want anybody saying shit about Bucky.
Another side note, that's definitely going to have to be another episode, because I think that shit is so dumb. He does not deserve that redemption. He did not deserve that.
Yes, he did. First of all.
Anyways, that's a whole.
What did he do that was that bad? Name one thing he did that I wouldn't agree with.
All the murder of innocent people just to fuck up.
What innocent people?
Literally innocent people on the streets just to like throw a wrench in Bruce's plan or the Titans' plan. So,
them people wasn't innocent.
There's a few innocent people in Gotham City.
They left. They live in Metropolis now.
I mean, that's what I would have done. I wouldn't have lived in Gotham City ever. That's the ghetto of the whole United States in the DC universe. But okay, so back to actually what we're talking about. So basically that ends issue 3 was really good. And then this is like when Christian said it goes downhill from here a little bit.
Like they had so much good stuff, especially with Joe, because they reveal in the middle of the issue that he's got a giant like shrine room to Steve Rogers, and you're like, and then the Stalker music started playing in my head because I was thinking, hello, you.
Well, but then you see like the end why he does idolize Captain America.
He says, you don't remember me, do you?
Yeah, and they never referenced it again. I was like, why not? But then at the end, whenever you're reading his little solo part, you're like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, it had a lot about, and then Joe kind of epitomized what Nichelle said in issue number 2. Nichelle said, I don't need you to inspire me to be, I don't need to be saved. I just need, like, your inspiration inspires me to help other people.
First of all, Nichelle also kind of dragged them a little bit, because she's like, you guys focus on the big things like aliens and stuff. I actually take care of the community. See what I need to do? I need to go back to what I do.
But she was like, that's fine. We need somebody who does that too. But the people here, they need me. And that's what Joe said that too. He said, exactly. The people here, they need me.
Well, Joe was in the hospital. It ends with him in the hospital because he gets off the stretcher to go punch Speed Demon in the face. And then he's like, all right, I really got to go to the hospital now. It's like, you shouldn't be there by now.
Like, you were in the ambulance, Joe.
It didn't even stop Speed Demon.
We did it, Joe.
So that one is really good. And this is kind of where it falls flat. You learn like the whole plot is basically,
because in issue 4, we learn the whole plot, and you don't even get a lot of this issue's Captain America. The Captain's Network is running now. Bucky and Sam and Steve, they're all together in some, I would love to say unknown location, but I know exactly where they are. I just didn't commit it to memory. And
they
it
were
won't
in
be
Colorado.
In the notes. Read the comic book yourself.
You should. Because this is when you figure out what the plan is. But if you're reading these, it is not hard to figure out what the plan is. It is the most overdone plan also. Like, this happens in so many comic books. Like, how did y'all do this? Whatever.
Okay, so the plan basically is... Well, first, no. Not even getting into the plan. Let's get into the captains. Because issue 4's Captain America is Ariel...
It's Ariel Agbayani.
The campus Captain America.
Yes. Sorry if I said that wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's Ariel Agbayani.
Yes, and she's 19. She operates in Boston, Massachusetts. Oh, we should have been explaining who they were the whole time, but she's a scholarship student at Harvard University.
Y'all can read these yourselves because they're good enough to read, okay?
And they are. And if you follow our social media, you will get to see their profile because No, I'm
because it's
gonna
going to be
post
on
it.
the social media.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
so they introduce Ariel, but she shows up with Aaron.
Aaron's back.
Aaron Fisher, yeah. But Ariel and Aaron show up like in her little shitty college kid car.
And then Bucky makes a comment about Steve's cell phone usage as well, because Steve is trying to physically call people one by one
and
for
he was
the
like,
Captain's
yeah, if you
network.
save the numbers, you wouldn't have to
dial it every time. I was like, leave this old man alone. He's doing his best.
But the fact that Bucky is only just a little bit younger than Steve, well, not just a little bit, because they're like probably 15 years apart in age. But like
not even that. They're more like 5 years apart, I think.
Nah.
Yeah,
because Bucky was the kid superhero.
I'm pretty sure that they're about the same age. I don't know.
You know what's funny?
Either way, they're about the same age. They're both way too close to 100 to be comfortable.
True. The age Bucky was actually, alive for those years, alive and active.
But yeah, so everyone just making fun of Steve is fucking hilarious. Steve's just trying to use his phone, and everyone's like, "No, oh man."
The fact that somebody in your generation is on your ass like this, it's that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because Steve and Bucky, he's like, no. And then as the captains gather, I'm like, okay, we got Aaron. We got, like, Nichelle couldn't come. Or she said no, I think, but she shows up for issue number 5. So we got Aaron and Ariel, we got Sam, we got Steve, we got Bucky. Captains gathered, right? Steve is like, oh, actually, I'm gonna have to go meet with him. And Bucky is like, no, anything but that. And so I'm like, oh, who could be showing up at this hour? And guess who it is?
Even I was like, who are they talking about? Who are they going to go meet? And it's goddamn John Walker,
the U.S. agent, drunk as a skunk.
If you've ever watched
of the day at a bar,
if you watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's that same John Walker, that piece of shit imposter one that shows up. I think it's John so funny
that his name is John Walker and like he's a drunk.
Johnny Walker, like the
yeah. I've always wondered if that was like intentional or if that was just like they were like, yeah, we're gonna make him a drunk later, or
I hope that was intentional. They're like, we're gonna make this alcoholic guy John Walker because that's funny. It's clever. I would have done it, but I'm not a writer.
Not a writer. Yeah, you never know. You might get published at DC someday.
Maybe.
I think you might have slandered Marvel too much.
Yeah, I think so, right? Like, they're going to be like, I don't think so. Not another exclusive gay. History, honestly. DC, though, what would I write at DC? I would go Teen Titans, I think. Straight to Teen Titans.
If I was going to write something for DC, I already know what it is. I would write an Elseworld where Superman was like, just one of those Black Superman Elseworlds. But that's just because I think Superman should have been played by Wentworth Miller.
I'm surprised you didn't say Midnighter. I thought you were going to say Midnighter.
Nah, I don't think I'm tough enough for that.
It'd be like the least hardcore Midnighter.
I like Midnighter, don't get me wrong. He's one of my favorite characters, but like this is a person who revels in violence, who's like, ooh, I'm about to beat your ass with a smile. What is that song? I'm about to whoop your ass. That's Midnighter, and I'm not that. If I was gonna, honestly, I would do Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, or like something really cute.
Yeah, that's very you. But anyway, so back to issue number 4. So at this point, like, they split up. John Walker goes back home, back to the hideaway. Not goes back home with Captain America. He goes to the hideaway with captains.
So you're saying Cap took him home?
That's exactly what happened. I started saying it, and I was like, damn, not the homoeroticism again. No one wants to be homoerotic with John Walker, though. That's just not the vibe.
Anyway, so all the captains have gathered. John Walker is being a piece of shit as always. Anyway, they track down so the plan is, they're like, okay, what could this possibly be? What is it? And then Steve is like, oh my God, it's the Hatemonger.
The Hatemonger, by the way, y'all, is literally like the living embodiment of
goop.
Hitler's consciousness. Like, what? Why do we want that in a story ever?
Hitler brain goop.
It's literally like this black foamy cloud thing of hate
that they keep in a tube, and they want to steal the Hitler brain goop and then use it for something. And I was like, okay.
This is when it starts getting very south for me. At this point, it was just like too much symbolism that I just couldn't get on board with it. But now the story is just going south.
And it's like the story, like the A story isn't bad. Like all the captains, they're all working together as a team. But the B story, which is like the plot, the things that are happening, I was like, ma'am.
We already had Red Skull's daughter. We already had, what the fuck was her name? The old, tall Nazi bitch. I can't remember what her fucking name is.
Was that not Mother Superior? Or no, the General.
General Superior. Yeah. I don't know. There too many Nazis to remember. I try not to commit Nazis to memory.
Speed Demon, who isn't a Nazi. He just got brainwashed by zombies. And that happened. And then skipping to the end, because I'm not going to tell y'all what happened. I don't have the brain capacity or the wording to tell y'all what happened.
It's important that Bucky and them split up at this point. Bucky and Sam split up because they go to get the other captain, whose name I don't remember.
We meet him in issue number 4. It's Jeremy Merrick.
That's it.
So Captain Merrick is one of the guardians of the Hatemonger. And they introduce him in issue number 4, where Warrior Woman and Sin and Speed Demon, who is, brainwashed. They try and stop her from releasing the Hatemonger, but she uses the shield to mesmerize people. But Steve, John, they all on that ass. They try and stop them from releasing Hatemonger, but they don't. They're in the wind. They manage to capture Sin or whatever. And John Walker is like, girl, I'm about to beat the shit out of you.
Tortures her for information. Yeah, it's kind of falling apart at this point, right?
Issue number 4. I mean, it doesn't really fall apart because it still makes sense, but I feel like what they were trying to say about America, that's where that falls apart.
Exactly. They're kind of missing the mark. I don't want to read
about Nazis.
That's what I'm saying. I'm so tired of just Nazis. You do realize you lost the war 80 years ago, right? Almost 90 years ago.
About y'all.
There's a reason you lost. It's because you suck and you don't belong in anything ever. But whatever. What do I know? I don't write comics. So
this is why Marvel's not gonna hire you.
I'm just so tired of seeing things that we shouldn't. Because like I said, when you keep writing them, even as the villain, you're still giving them a spotlight they don't deserve.
The thing that's so funny. It's not funny. It's not about Nazis, but Sin's name is Cynthia. It's like S-I-N, Cynthia, like Cynthia.
Yeah. It's so dumb. I mean, that's not dumb. I actually really like that. I was just dumb about Nazis.
No, it's dumb because she's a Nazi. Only a dumb Nazi would think of some stupid shit like that.
I know.
But anyway, so we get to Ariel's story at the end because I'm wondering how she became Captain America because she really doesn't have a lot of lines. Like, it's not like Aaron, Nichelle, and Joe where they're in most of the main storyline in their issue. She's kind of in the background.
She just pops up to join the story and like continues with the story at that point. Like, you don't know anything about this girl at all. She's just there.
They introduce her as the campus Captain America. And I'm wondering, well, like, what could she be doing? And you see that it's Halloween and you see that all these girls are getting ready to go out and their friend who has been assaulted, she is like kind of hiding in her room. And they're like, are you sure you don't want to come to the party with us? Do you want us to bring you back anything? And she's like, no. And so you see Ariel, like, she goes out to some creepy frat house and like she's looking for the evidence, for the details, because they're trying to silence this girl and she's like, nah, not on my watch.
Well, first they even make some comment because Ariel's the last to leave. The group of friends leave before her and they're like, you better hurry because Elliot's gonna be there. And then like you meet the girl under the covers who had been assaulted and she's like, and then they make a comment about how Elliot had assaulted her. So you're sitting there like, wait a minute, who is Elliot?
Because it's so confusing. And then they kind of like,
yeah, so we kind of learn who Elliot is. Once we get to the party, Elliot's the first one at the door, or like the second. He's like one of the first people you see. And he's just your typical college frat guy. We find out his dad owns half of campus, so he gets away with all this bullshit that a typical white man does. And it's so annoying.
He's a complete dick face. And the thing that's so obnoxious about him is that when we meet him, he has, it's Halloween, like we said, he has the audacity to be dressed as Captain America.
Yeah.
And then when she passes by, like, obviously she's wearing a mask and like her Captain America uniform. He says, hey, sexy ninja, you want to show me some of your jujitsu? And then she's like, ew, get away. And he like grabbed her. And then one of the other like frat guys was like, leave that girl alone. And he's like, she was totally into it. He was so disgusting. And I was like, oh, get away. And then So Ariel, she finds the evidence, she sneaks through, and then he's like, oh my God. They have a little tussle, but you can't keep a bad bitch down. So Ariel wins, and he's
Period.
like telling, period. He's like yelling out, don't let that girl dressed like Captain America leave. But guess what?
Everybody's dressed like Captain America. All of them. Well, all the girls.
Well, all the girls on the dance floor. There's a big group of girls dressed like Captain America. And as soon as we get back to the room, like Ariel's got the evidence, like for her friends, and then all of the
What's
roommates.
great about it though is because at the beginning, the roommates are all just wearing like a witch outfit, like a devil outfit, and like a butterfly outfit. So you're like, oh, they're just going to a Halloween party. But then, as you were just saying,
when everybody comes back from the party, all the roommates are dressed like Captain America in different outfits, like different combinations, like their own version. So it's like not just Ariel, they're all the captain.
They all set up this plan to get back at Elliot for,
not even to get back at him, but to bring him to justice.
Bring him to justice for what he did to their friend. And it's like respect. And then that's another like moment that you're like tearful reading this. You're like, oh my God, this is so good.
And then not only do they have the evidence, it's going on the news. You're not going to jail. You're going to prison.
And they're going to back it up too. They're going to back it all up. She says, I'll give it back after I back it up and like release it to the public so everybody can know. Like, respect.
Ain't nothing getting swept under the rug today. And the fact that she's like, their friend is so grateful. She said, you did all this for me. They're like, yeah, and we can't undo what happened, but we can make it really hard for him to do it again. Period.
And it was
that
such a good
is girls
story.
Supporting girls.
It is. And then they even say, like, we'll make you a shield next time too, so that way she can be Captain America. There it goes.
Exactly.
The legacy of Captain America goes farther than Steve Rogers.
Yes, and the fact that Ariel, she uses, like, she's such a brave person. Like, not only does she use her skills here where people need her, she uses them, to fight Nazis, which is probably not something a 19-year-old girl signed up for.
I was about to say that too. I was about to be like, well, you can't make me fight Nazis because these are super powered Nazis too. They're just not like your regular white supremacist, These are some, like, you're not putting me in that fight. I'm sorry.
These Nazis can do magic.
Exactly. You're not going to.
I don't know. Well, I guess we have to be in the fight, being minorities.
Well, Steve, or if like you read like a little back page about Ariel, he makes some comment about something like, I'm gonna write her a letter to recommendation to her college.
He said they should be proud to have her as a student.
Yeah.
And Sam said, you can't write a permission slip for vigilante activity, Steve. And Steve said, like, I can try. Sam really said, got to keep a lid on her involvement if we can. I don't know what they said about in the show, but I mean, hopefully they helped end her legal problems. Like, can y'all please call where is Matt Murdock? She needs some help.
Honestly, right? I would think about that as I was reading this too. I was like, where's Matt and where's like the night nurse? Like, these are the people that should just be traveling with them during this whole episode or whole situation.
First of all, I'm gonna say something that sounds bad. I don't want to bring Daredevil on a road trip. He could hear too much and smell too much. He seems like he'd be annoying on a long trip. Anybody with super senses, I don't want y'all with me on a long trip.
He also only has like,
unless you're Wolverine, because Wolverine's gross. So
Wolverine looks like he smells bad.
He looks like he smells bad, but he looks like he smells like outside.
Bad. Not like the good outside, because whatever. That's a side thing. But you can't bring Matt either because he's only qualified in New York. It's not like he's going to help this girl in Boston. And
also, I don't want him sniffing me.
What do you think it's like? Never mind. I'm not even going to go into that. I'm not going to open that can of worms. Not on the unless we record. So there it ends. That one ends, and it's like, okay, Sin is kidnapped.
Cynthia.
Hatemonger got away with, what was her name? Big Berta? I'm just kidding. That's DC.
Hey, don't ever slander Big Barda like that. Barda Free did not.
I know, I said it.
It's Warrior Woman or Commander Krieger or whatever. Some nicey ass bitch with a Dutch braid. That's who it is.
That's who it is. Warrior
Some bitch
Woman.
named Julia.
They get away, and it's like, okay. And at this point, this is when Bucky and everybody separates, and they split up and go do their own thing. And Sam.
So it's Sam. It's Sam, right?
It's Sam, John,
Ariel,
and Steve
Bucky
together.
Huh. Oh, okay. So who was with? Oh no. Okay. So that's where we have Captain Merrick and Bucky and Ariel in issue 5.
Yes.
And Captain Merrick,
and Speed
he is not one of the captains in the Captain's Network. He is just along for the ride. So he's our 5th Captain America.
He's just along for the ride.
He is. And they end up in Colorado Springs because he has to go pick up his daughter. Because he's like, I'll help y'all, but I need to make sure my baby is safe. And I was like, respect.
And should, yeah. And then Steve he's like, oh my God, I'm going to jump the gun and I know how to stop them, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, it's a trap. Some shit goes wrong. And what are the teams right now? It is, because there's two separate teams. So we have Steve and John Walker.
Wait, they get the information because John Walker gets in a room with Sin and just starts beating the dog shit out of her, which I was like, damn, not violence against women. But then I remembered that she was a Nazi. So I was like, damn, violence against women.
I don't think it counts as woman if you're a Nazi. Sorry.
Exactly.
Not me just shitting on Nazis this whole episode. That's what this episode is. # fuck Nazis.
Episode 17, F Nazis, aka United States of Cap.
Okay, so what are the teams at this point? We have John Walker and Steve, and I think
Sam.
Okay, and Sam, and then you have Bucky,
and Aaron,
Ariel.
I guess too by default.
I thought Aaron was the other team. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this is the part where this is my biggest beef with this part or this whole story.
They all split up and it doesn't make sense. And also what they're doing really doesn't make sense. They're trying to fight the Hatemonger, but they have to honestly, it would be better if some people just read it because trying to explain it would not make sense because it doesn't really make sense. This is where they lost the plot, but it was still cool.
And again, if you were reading the first 3 issues, you know exactly where this plot is going. You can see all this coming. So I'm like, how did the team of superheroes not see this coming? I could see it coming reading this. And then the whole time that they're separated, Captain America is just talking this Bucky, and he's like, no, you're a Captain America too, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, leave this man alone. Just let him be Bucky. He doesn't need to be like Steve's pet, basically. That's what they're trying to, I don't know. I hate it. Just let Steve be Steve.
What I really like about Bucky is that he really will assert his personhood. He'll be like, listen, I feel like Steve sometimes does not understand that he can't just be bossing my ass around because I'm not 12 years old. I don't think he gets that.
Mm-hmm. But then they spend this whole time like gaslighting him into being Captain America. So he puts on the Captain America costume again. And I was like, stop.
Well, they didn't gaslight him, but they strongly encouraged him when they could have just left it alone. Because Sam wouldn't put on his little Captain America costume does not mean that Bucky had to. I was happy to see Bucky back in his Captain American costume. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he should be Captain America. I don't even think you should claim to do that. I was like, ooh.
And it's the
fact
that shit
up right now.
Bucky even gives examples about why he doesn't think that he should be Captain America in this issue, but they still put him in this costume. And then it's like this, I just didn't agree with the actual story at this point.
But the thing that was so funny is that when Hatemonger gets out, he's dressed like some kind of fucking dark magician from Yu-Gi.
Yes, he looked exactly like the dark magician.
Used to have me hollering. So their plan was to hypnotize America. That's all I can say. And somehow they have these unqualified people, like the Captain's Network, performing these major acts of heroism, which, don't get me wrong, is really cool. But I was so terrified. And
here's the thing. They're not super serum. They don't have the powers that Steve has. You can't bring normal people to a fight against super powered Nazis. You just can't do that.
Nazi wizard bitches. You can't.
You can't.
But it was cool to see the extent of the Captain's Network because in issue 5, I was gonna say episode 5 like you, but I'm too cool. You see the full extent of the Captain's Network, and then they tell you there's even more, and you're like, what? So, and then you see all these cool people in the background, like who you haven't been introduced to, and they don't introduce you at all. They're just like, yeah, no, they're there and suffer.
So that part's pretty cool. I do like that we get to see a huge, because it's a very big group of captains, y'all. Like, it's a huge group of captains, and you get to see a bunch of them, but it's still not all of them. There's
this is a real network, and knowing that they have people throughout the country who have decided that Captain America means something to them, and they just took up the mantle on their own. That is so cool, and I feel like that was such a good way it was a good way that they were moving,
Mm-hmm.
I just that they had kept with
what they have been
were.
Back in the secret hideout, just giving information through telecoms or something. Like, they didn't need to be a part of the fight against Nazis. Like, you don't
no,
you don't need to do that.
If I gotta haul my cookies out here, I'm gonna get my lick in on these Nazis.
I am
Don't
not
get me
fighting
wrong.
that
But
7-foot tall, super powered
freaking
Nazi
Ariel.
woman. I'm not doing
Ariel
that.
jumped out of a plane with Steve Rogers. That's the one where I would have did that.
I'm just
No,
not.
wait, it wasn't with Steve. I think that was with Bucky in
That
his
one was
Captain
with
America
Bucky.
costume.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have did that.
You are not putting me in that fight. I'm sorry. I'm not fighting the
First of all, they
fucking
weren't even strapped
embodiment of
together.
Hitler's consciousness. I'm not fighting that.
I'm not fighting Hitler's mom.
You cannot pay me for that shit. What the hell?
Well, listen, the only way I would do it is if I'm the last line of defense. Like if I was a superhero, I would have to be I don't care how powerful I am. I'm the last one that y'all call before the world is about to explode.
Exactly. And the fact that Steve and Bucky and Sam were all there, I think that's enough. That's a pretty strong team right there.
Because they was getting their ass beat. We needed some more captains, but I'm just saying I wouldn't have been one of them.
I wasn't
like the dude in the football outfit. If I was him, I would have went and played my game because I know he had a game that night.
You know how
I would have been
like Steve couldn't get anybody on the line. I'm the one that you can't get on the line. I'm not showing up for this fight.
They'd be like, I pinged Andrew, but he left me on red.
New phone, who this? Steve Rogers, don't call me.
First of all, I would have had his number pre-blocked once I got the call. And once somebody else called me and was like, Captain's a symbol. I'm like, who?
That's when you take the costume off. I'm no longer a captain.
If I was in the Captain's Network, I would be there strictly for information gathering purposes. I would keep the Captain's Network connected.
Exactly.
I'm the IT guy. That's my job.
Exactly.
Actually, that seems like the worst job to have because then you have everybody's information. So you're the first person they go after.
That's true too. I don't think there's any winning. I don't want to fight the Nazis like that. Not super powered Nazis, regular Nazis, sure. Super powered
I'll beat
Nazis.
The shit out of a Nazi, don't get me wrong, but I'm not fighting Nazis that can do magic.
I know. What did Nichelle say earlier? She goes, sometimes you just need to punch a Nazi in the face. And I was like,
she said, we all like punching Nazis. I was like, period. That's first of all, that's black girl magic.
Yeah. So let me just say again, fuck Nazis. Overall, I thought this was a very good story. There was just a lot of symbolism that didn't work for me. Also, sorry, side note, one thing at the end, they all gave up their shields to the Smithsonian at the end. I was like, I didn't think they were giving them.
I don't think they were giving them up permanently. I think they were just showing them in the museum. I think that's what they wanted Steve's for initially. I think just to show, but
you still need those.
I need one of us to be there to guard them because Steve, somebody ran in his apartment, beat the shit out of him, and stole his shit. I want my shit back.
Exactly.
Especially Joe because that's part of his like regalia. Like I need my shit back. And
all of them, like Aaron especially, he made that shield himself. He doesn't have someone making him vibranium shields. Or in Steve's case, once he loses his shield, he gets like a little electric shield on his arm, which is kind of cool looking, I guess. But then Sam starts making fun of him for it. He's like, that looks like one of those beer signs that you see in the back of a bar. Like,
I'm mad because Sam called him a low budget bitch on the cool.
He did. That shield was actually kind of cool though. But like I said, you can't throw that shield. What is the point of having it?
You can throw it, but not.
It's attached to his arm. I mean,
it's
I
guess
like
all a hologram
are,
type thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can throw it. Now is it gonna come back? You can't make light come back.
But that's what I'm saying. They need their shields. Why would you give them up even for a little bit?
Yeah.
Again, this was just symbolism again to just try to. I get the point they were trying to make with all this.
It was like these are the people that need to be recognized. All of our Captain Americas. I was like,
See again, not
that's
me, though.
Sweet. Thank you. You would have been the one Captain America to keep their shield, huh?
I'm blocking that number 2 as soon as they call like block. But no, overall, I do think this was a really good story. I know I shit on it a lot just because I had some problems with it, which have been discussed. But I do think everybody should read this because it was really good, and it had good meaning behind everything that it put into the story. It really did.
Honestly, my favorite part about issue 5 was that there was no side story for Captain America. I was like, I don't want to read that shit.
I do like that they put. Because, like I said, they introduced us to a lot of new characters. So I'm glad that they gave us backstories to the character without really ruining the story. I think they did that in a very clever way. And
I think it would be cool as like an Independence Day thing. I think it'd be cool since it's like Steve Rogers' birthday or whatever. I think it'd be cool with to gather all of the like patriotic superheroes like Patriot, Miss America, Steve, the captains. I think that would be a cool story. I think this is something that could be brought back, like how Multiversity brought back like the Hall of Heroes. And I think this is a good idea. And I would like to see more of these characters. I just don't know in what way. Like we got to see, bringing it back to one of my favorite comics, We Are Robin. We got to see Duke Thomas become Signal and be part of the Bat Family. I think it'd be cool to keep up with some of them.
Yeah, but I don't know how you would do that unless you were to write like a individual story of each of them, or like maybe an individual story of just a network of captains where they all team up to do whatever they do.
I just think they should get to come back.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do it, but I agree. I think that they should come back. It can't be too hard. I'm not the writer.
Exactly. So I don't know who I need to pimp Andrew out to get this.
Okay, so we didn't say it at the beginning, but this was written by Christopher Cantwell and Josh Trujillo. Yeah, so just because we forgot to mention that part.
They will be listed in the notes.
Yeah.
Also, I looked in the file on the Captain America of Harrisburg, and Steve was like, yeah, I'm going to write Ariel a letter of recommendation to the school or whatever. And Steve and Sam were just like, damn, I don't know how we going to help Nichelle. I hope she got backup to rely on.
Not Nichelle. I think Nichelle is actually one of my favorites in this one. Actually, no, they're all my favorites in different ways.
The drip is unmatched. Like, it really is. Well, actually, for every Captain America, the drip was unmatched because Ariel, in different ways. Talk about her outfit. She's got this like kind of mask leading up from like her nose around the rest of her face, hair out. Of course, we love a hair out moment. She has like a little, it's like a dress uniform, not like a military dress uniform, like it's a dress, and she has like leggings and things, but like it's more Halloween costumey than everyone else's, but it gives what it was supposed to have gave.
And if she had one of those shields with like the 3 points at the top instead of just like a regular circle shield like everybody else. I don't know what shields are called.
She's like the OG Captain America shield.
Yeah, I don't know what you call that type of shield, but it's cool. I liked it. It really matched the vibe. And I also liked Aaron's costume because he had all the tattoos, and then he had like a bandana covering his half of his face. I was like, we still know who you are. You know that, right, Aaron?
But here's the thing, like, no, it's like Nichelle, where like you have purple hair and your legs look like tree trunks.
We know who you are.
You flip around and beat the shit out of people. We know who, like, at least Joe is not trying to hide who he is at all. He has a mask, yeah, but everybody knows who he is. Yeah. He literally wore the Captain America uniform at a party. Well, not a party. I'm not saying that fairly. Let me look up where he was really quick.
Okay, and I just want to say like one more thing before we actually finish this up. Even if you don't read all of the Captain America story, you should at least read all the side stories about all these characters because they're all very interesting and they're all very good, and all their stories will make you feel some type of way. Like all of them will. And
they will. He didn't wear the full Captain America outfit, but he literally has a shield on his chest at a powwow, at the annual Kickapoo powwow. So I was like, people know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, they were all very culturally connected to the neighborhood, to the area that they were from. They were all
Joe was very popular in the neighborhood. Everybody loves Joe.
Joe is that guy.
Yeah, he's like your neighbor that everybody loves, everybody talks to, everybody goes to, you know. Everybody's probably having a party at Joe's house all like every weekend, you know what I mean?
He looks like his barbecue is fire.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Joe. We just gave him even more of a backstory. Look at us.
Just like Ariel, I know she's probably studying graphic design or something. She just looks like...
I feel like she's a psychology major. She looks like a psychology major.
Really, to you?
Yeah.
I was really thinking graphic design. Or she looks like a dark horse. Like if you like when somebody tells you they're studying law or something, and you're like, you?
Mm-hmm.
Or what if she's like business administration?
I actually could see that one. She's probably going to go be like the HR of some big fancy company somewhere. I could see that for Ariel.
First of all, if she does, I'm going to need Steve Rogers to write that recommendation. Tony, y'all need HR. Reed, y'all need HR. I need him to be
if I was Steve,
our girl.
You're not going to either one of those people. I don't trust either one of them.
Horrible idea. I can't believe I really just with my chest recommended Reed Richards for anything, knowing that I think Reed Richards is 2 steps away from becoming a villain.
Same with Tony. You know what? She should just go work with Jessica Drew. I feel like she can do that really well. Or
even just don't get her a job at Sword or anything.
Oh no. I feel like she would accidentally end up there and then like take down the whole company because she figures out their secrets. That's why am I just imagining all these? Anyways, okay, we can finish up.
See, that's why we're telling you, Marvel Comics, put some more on our captains because I would like to see. I want to see Nichelle out in the community. You know, I want to see her with. Maybe not teaming up with the Avengers, but like the champions can't run through Harrisburg. You know what I'm saying? I don't want her near the Avengers. This was too much excitement for me. I was scared one of them was going to get hurt, but this is an anniversary miniseries, so nobody was going to get killed.
And that's also why I'm saying that everybody should. I highly recommend all these backstories of these characters because they're so easy to relate to or feel or connect with in some kind of way. That's why we just came up with the whole backstories for 3 of them.
Because listen, as raggedy and horrible as America can be, we are all Americans together.
We are all captains.
And that's all for this week's episode of True Believers.
Thank you for all of your support. We'll see you next Wednesday, the 17th, after we watch the Eternals movie, which I am very excited for. I know it's been getting a lot of criticism, but it's also been getting a lot of love. And I feel like I'm going to be on the love side of this. So,
Listen, at the end of the day, I don't care what you people say about this movie, but make sure you watch your mouth, be respectful, because Richard Madden. When Richard Madden shows up, I need you to if you ain't got nothing nice to say, you need to close your mouth. Period. We're available on all major streaming platforms. And if you really like the show, please leave us a review and continue sharing with your friends. We really appreciate it, and it really helps us. As always, if you want to leave a suggestion on what we read or watch, you can find and DM us on social media. You can email us, leave us a voicemail at 650-761-2629, or you can just join our Discord group, which we started to connect with people. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.